This is a Cali BBQ Media production. We started this Rising Tides live show 4 years ago on the social audio app Clubhouse. So it was audio only, and then we moved to LinkedIn audio, and now we are live streaming on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. If you are watching the show, we would love for you to be a guest. We believe in restaurants, we believe in hospitality, storytelling, and we believe in technology. Today, we have an extremely special episode because we have one of my dear friends, somebody that I respect, I admire, somebody that epitomizes what we believe in hospitality and technology, which is that humans are at the heart of technology. And the closer that restaurant owners can get to technology companies, the better our industry is as a whole. Today we have Jordan Boesch. He is the CEO and co-founder of 7Shifts. Jordan, welcome to Rising Tides Live.
Thanks for having me, Shawn.
Can you high level 7 shifts? How many restaurants do you guys touch? How many people use your app? And how long have
Yeah.
you guys been in business?
Yeah. So quick high level on 7 shifts. I would assume most people know 7 shifts as a scheduling product at its core, but we really try and capture the employee life cycle and deliver value within that. And what I mean by that, it's everything from hiring, training, scheduling, paying, and retaining your staff. More recently, rolling out some of the pay components around tip management and payroll to really kind of connect those flows. We're used today by about 50,000 restaurant locations
Wow, that's
across the
amazing.
US. 1 in 10 restaurant workers log into the product on a daily basis, mostly through our mobile apps. And yeah, really excited to just constantly chip away at the many pain points operators face on a daily basis and see how we can make their lives better. Because as we both know, there is an endless supply of challenges to tackle and solve for.
So one of the things that I love is when companies like you, which you guys are leading edge, cutting edge, taking data that you have from restaurant owners, asking questions, and then publishing reports, public reports that allow restaurant owners to get industry knowledge. It's great. We actually recently just did a Rising Tides live on data versus instincts. And it was an interesting conversation when you talk to restaurant owners about the data that we get and then what we do with that data, as well as how do we subjectively feel about things and how do we objectively feel. Well, let's talk about this restaurant labor cost and profitability report. Why are you guys rolling out these reports? And more importantly, what did you learn with this new report?
Yeah, a big reason why we roll out these reports is rooted in a belief that we have here at 7 Shifts, which is because we talk and interface with so many operators, we get to see a lot of different things and practices. And there are groups and pockets of operators that do things incredibly well. And if we genuinely care about, like the show's called, sort of like rising tides, like we believe that, it's important to share these best practices to raise the waters for everyone so that all restaurants can be successful. And so a big part of why we publish these reports is to share what's going on. And and a big part of that is through storytelling as well. There are a lot of data and a lot of insights that we're gathering through some of these questions and operators that we're surveying, but there's also another component, which is the raw stories of these people. How did they start? What did they go through? What were their challenges? How did they overcome them? And that's what personally excites me, and that's a big reason we do these reports.
Well, what I also love about the report is that you and the team have done a great job of what we call omni-channel storytelling. Is that it's one thing to publish a report and to put it onto a website, but you've turned it into social media content. You put it on Instagram, you put it on LinkedIn, you're appearing on this show to talk about it. So let's talk high level before we bring our community in to ask some questions. But what's the true cost of employee turnover?
So in the report, it is higher than you think. And I know that there are different reported numbers around the cost of turnover. And when we did this report, we sort of factored in a bunch of different things around, hiring, retraining, all that stuff. For front of house worker, it's about $1,000, back of house 2,000, management 3,000, and I think again, there's some data out there outside of our report on this already, and it sort of operates in bands. So it could be 1 to 3, 2 to 4, 3 to 5, depending on the type of establishment you have. Um, but I think one thing's really important to take away from this is there is a cost. And it's not just, oh, this is the industry. Let me go back to this pile of resumes, get the next person in the door. And, I'm just living in the rotating door world. And I think that sentiment is sort of just feels like operators like giving up and giving in to this belief that they can't do anything about that. Um, but look, I think the first part of that is understanding and getting the message clear across to all operators that there is a cost to turnover.
I just interviewed Robbie Schloss, who is the owner, co-founder of JoJo's in Chicago. They've opened up multiple locations. We talked about his personal tech stack. I asked him, what is the first app that you open in the morning? And he said 7Shifts. He logs into the 7Shifts app because it allows him to get a high level view. He feels like he was in the restaurants. And I know for Cali Barbecue and our team, it's the same way for me. Can you talk about how important communication is in this day and age for small restaurants as well as larger enterprises?
Yeah, I think to some degree, larger establishments, not even just restaurants, had access to a lot of technology, and it was built for the enterprise. And I think what we've seen in the past, 10, 20 years is really the ability to build things and roll things out quickly and affordable to um, more of the SMB category. So in our case, independent restaurants. And communication is one of those things where it's still pretty archaic in a lot of establishments. And when I say archaic, I mean it could be easier. And in that, a lot of phone calls happening, a lot of text messages, some over Facebook, some not. Um, if you're like me and you're a bit like stickler over how you have your work contacts in your phone versus your personal contacts, and you want some level of separation. I think products like 7 Shifts, and not to toot our horn, there's other products that do this as well, but I think that is important to have that layer of difference between where you keep your contacts, but then also the ability to keep everyone apprised of what's going on in the restaurant, or as an employee, if you need to trade shifts. It should be seamless, and we should only bring the manager in when the manager needs to be brought in, because managers still have to approve things, and that's a critical part of it. But what I really love seeing in how people are using the 7 Shifts product is there's there are many operators that see this as a very great cultural tool as well, in terms of building transparency within their organization, pushing out uh, certain announcements, letting people know what things are changing, why they're changing, when the next staff meeting is, giving kudos to some of their staffs that are doing a great job publicly and praising them. And
Mhm.
I think I go back to this quote by Danny Meyer: "Culture is the sum of all the behaviors you celebrate minus the ones you tolerate." And if you want to build a great culture that you want certain behaviors to take place, well, you got to celebrate them and you got to
Yep.
talk about them. And this is an avenue to talk about those and to make it clear that these are the things that we think are great for people to do, and we are publicly blasting this out to everyone to share that story. So I think communication is a massive part and a massive advantage for restaurants that adopt any type of communication tool that could really be an asset to bringing teams together.
Amazing. Well, I would love to bring our community on. I know we have so many people that are excited to be able to ask you questions. Jordan, go ahead, come on in. If you guys are watching this, please go to betheshow.media/rising tides so you can sign up. And the community, once you come on stage, please mute your mics so we don't have any feedback. Let's go ahead and start with Laura Wilbur. Laura, thank you for being here. 60 seconds. Who are you? What are you working on? And what's your question about labor costs, restaurants, profitability for Jordan. Go ahead.
Hi there, Laura Wilbur coming to you from North San Diego County. So good to see you guys and great to see you yesterday in person, Jason. I help restaurants attract and retain expense account diners when they're traveling for business. So I believe showing up is 80% of success. And when we show up consistently, we're unstoppable. And I'm in the business of showing up for my restaurant clients and bringing friends. And by friends, I mean 21 million expense account diners who are looking for great restaurants when they're traveling, when they're ordering catering, when they're booking private events, when they're dining in and carrying out. Working on a few exciting things today. We have our healthy dining guide, which Shawn, I remember asking you, what can I order at barbecue? And you told me go for the proteins when you're looking for healthy options
Don't
at
go for the
barbecue.
peach cobbler. Yeah.
Okay, but there's always time for that too. So we're getting ready to roll that out, and we also just came out with our state of business dining report, which really mirrors what we're hearing all over the industry, which is consumer confidence is low, consumers are pulling back as far as traffic being down about 5% at restaurants, but business dining and business travel is up. So if there was ever a time to go all in on winning more business diners, it's now. Um, and let's see, what else am I working on today? Just onboarding some really great restaurants. We have a few fun
Awesome.
ones joining us for May 1st.
Do you have any questions for Jordan about 7 Shifts, the labor report, his insights into what's going on with profitability at restaurants?
Jordan, I like what you were saying. I love that quote that you shared about culture. I think that's something that I'm hearing at all of the conferences as well, is just how important it is to treat the staff and the people like people, listen to them, and the CEO of Brinker spoke. He received the Restaurateur of the Year at the Restaurant Leadership Conference. He gave an example about how someone was counting shrimp and was frustrated by, why are we counting these shrimp in advance? What if we just, eyeballed it and grabbed the shrimp for this dish? And he said, you know what, you're right, let's try it. He rolled it out across all restaurants. That staff member felt heard and like they were contributing. So couldn't agree more about listening to your people, taking ideas from absolutely everybody. I'm here to listen really because I'm here to really learn as much as I can to help my restaurant clients succeed. And so I'm excited to hear from you.
We appreciate it, Laura. Thank you for being here. Let's go to Jason Berkowitz, one of our Rising Tide leaders. Jason, who are you? What are you working on? 60 seconds and ask Jordan some challenging questions. Let's put Jordan on the hot seat.
But it's more of a perspective space. Uh, um, the Jason Berkowitz, longtime restaurant operator and partner, scaled multiple brands, started Europe training 6 years ago. We help restaurants through online training level up their teams, satisfy compliance, and develop supervisors into leaders. What we are working on is this idea behind the Restaurant Essentials, where we are bottling up a series of courses. Restaurants are most people's number one first job. And what we've been told by a lot of our community is that they really need help with the basics. First time communication, working together. I mean, right? Not only what's my job responsibility, what does it mean to work along people in the workspace? And so we're partnering with like-minded organizations, potentially 7 Shifts, uh,
Hint, hint.
to hint, hint, to bring this together. And we're rolling this out across North America. For the big onboarding this summer. So it's great, right? Everything down to the one-on-ones of working together, de-escalation, communication. When we interview people, I want to highlight something and then I want to ask a question. A lot of our courses come down to talking to people and getting stories. And that's where we find that it resonates across all different generations. And that's where we're winning. One of the things that I'd asked previously to an employee years ago was said, if there was one thing that you could tell your boss, what would you tell them? And they said, cross train me. Cross train me. You're not using me like you could use me. I'm watching them die over on the grill and I could jump in or somebody calls out. And so I wanted to highlight, I loved that in the report that that's being called out and that's being recognized. And I think, I love it as a training company because we get to come in and say, well, there's shoulder to shoulder training, but let's also set what the expectation is of training so that you're not doing it differently in different locations. Question though, back to the human side of things. How are you seeing this, as we're diving deep into production, you know, talking to a lot of restaurants out there, but obviously you have access to a bunch of independent restaurants who's our love as well. We work with large scale, but SMB is my love. What are you seeing as far as, how they're doing as far as interpersonal talking together? And I'm sorry, one other quick thing. One thing that I've said when I was helping you guys with the previous report is the reason I started using 7 Shifts long ago was so much friction happens because of scheduling or managers are not having fun scheduling or calling out or doing all this stuff. And what we want to do is get people to be able to have the blocking and tackling taken care of so that they can talk to each other as people. What are you seeing, Jordan, as far as, not only the blocking and tackling, but the actual interpersonal communication? What are they looking for? What are they struggling with? Not just speaking in a channel, communication channel on 7 Shifts, but standing next to each other, shoulder to shoulder. What are you hearing out there as far as, these generations working together?
Yeah, more so specifically around the employees standing shoulder to
Yeah.
shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is like much to some of the stuff that we found in our report. There is sort of that need to and thirst for more. Like whether it's cross training or something else, I think there is a thirst for growth. And sort of cross training is one of those levers. I think that there's also we saw, and I think one of our previous reports as well is um, the actual wages increasing in a variety of different sectors. And I think that there is why I mentioned this is I do think the employees are just sort of wanting more. And it's not always purely pay based. And I think that a lot of folks try and go there first. Oftentimes there's a way for it to coincide with some of the training aspects of helping them grow as people and to be a better asset for the restaurant. But I think in prior conversations that employees were having were sort of like, oh, there's always this I feel like this lingering need to get paid more. But I think what I've was always shocked with some of these reports that we were rolling out is it was actually like the third thing on the list or the fourth thing. It was never the top thing. And so I think if managers can sort of tap into that, that's more so what we're hearing, and that's more so I think what they're chatting with amongst each other as well.
Cool. Yeah, it's that opportunity. It
Awesome.
was a couple things from that opportunity of growth and feeling like you belong. And, another piece of the report that you had was, what was it? 46% of people leave managers, right? And
Mhm.
so freeing up that time so that managers are less exhausted and being able to spend time interpersonal relationships and things like that. And it's where I guess if you are seeing the data in that still of like how people feel like they belong somewhere, right? And not just the metric of did they show up on time? Y- did they clock in late? But do they feel like they belong somewhere? It's always something that I look to.
Yeah, that's 100% true. That it is that old saying of, employees quit managers, not jobs. In a lot of cases, like, a lot of these folks can work anywhere, right? And they don't want to, and if they have a good sense of the community and culture, and it's a feel like a place that they are comfortable and within reason, right? I think getting slightly discomfortable, or sorry, having slight discomfort and being pushed outside of your comfort zone to learn and grow is important, but you need to do that in an environment that fosters that and you want to show up to.
Great. Thank you. Howard, who are you and what's your question for Jordan?
Who am I? That's a great question.
Who are you
I am
today?
I am Howard Solomon. I'm the CEO of Cali Barbecue and Cali Barbecue Media. I'm responsible for both survival and growth. with the company. I'm also a proprietor myself, owner and operator of the pastrami stand here in San Diego. Jason, this is what I am working on today. Finishing up the last box.
What is that? Is that your training manual?
No, that's matzah.
Okay.
My goal is to finish up.
When is it too late? It's time to throw it out. I'm looking
Well,
at the
it's-
box sitting right there.
It's my goal to finish this box today because I want it gone. Jordan, good to see you again. Good to hear your voice. I am a longtime user, part-time behind the curtain salesperson of 7Shifts. I'm a huge fan. I've spread the word all over, wherever I can, all over the place. I love what you said about the cultural piece of 7Shifts. Rolling out 7Shifts across probably, I don't know, over 20, 25 venues. My practice over the last 10 years or so. I've always tried to make it the go-to or the habit to go find information regarding labor and people. Sometimes there's a challenge to that part of it, especially when you're a Toast user and you're on Toast. But the tools within 7Shifts are so superior from a visual standpoint, which kind of leads you to the knowledge standpoint and comparison and how you're trending and all these things. But I want to get back to the cultural piece because I like that perch. I like that point of view that you mentioned. And besides teaching verbally that 7Shifts is a cultural thing, and besides the feedback portion of 7Shifts, what other cultural things do you see on the horizon within the 7Shifts platform?
Yeah, good question. This whole show is private, right, Shawn? I can reveal deep dark secrets here, and no one will know.
I don't know how much work I do in private anymore, Jordan. If I go places and the cameras aren't rolling, people are disappointed.
Yeah. No, all good. So, Howard, good to see you again. Your question of what's more on the horizon. So very much like a lot of folks know us today for scheduling and payroll and tip management are sort of some of the key pillars now. But when we take a step back and look at that employee journey across what many folks refer to as the HR lifecycle, so hiring, training, scheduling, paying, and retaining, it's obvious that there's some core things that we need to continue to work on. Training is one of them. And it's funny, and I'll share this with you all here today. We went to go do some work on one of the pillars within that life cycle, and actually we were overwhelmed by the amount of folks that were asking us for training, something different, and than what we were originally sort of looking at pursuing. And I think that, and the point that a lot of folks make is, look, there are lots of things out there, but my employees are already looking at 7Shifts. They're already engaging with it on a daily basis. And when I use, whether it's a separate tool or something else, it's like they have to download that, they have to adopt it. And that is in itself another hurdle. And so again, we want to build things that are helpful for our operators. And it's true, we have very high engagement for these workers. So I think we have been evaluating how we approach training, and what type of things get incorporated. That I'm sure, Jason, we're going to have some probably good chats as we go forward and kind of and think through that. But there has definitely been some exciting discussions around what that looks like. How soon could we get something to market? What does that need to be in a and in a way that adds the most value for sort of getting into the hands of operators. So that's something that I'll share that is something we're evaluating.
Awesome. Thank you.
Let's talk.
Troy
Yeah.
Hooper, welcome to the stage. I know you got a quick quick in and out, one of our Rising Tide leaders that is extremely busy, as we all are. But thank you guys all for being here. If you're watching the show, please join us live. It's always better when we have more voices up here on stage. Troy, go for it. Who are you? What are you building? And what's your question for Jordan?
Oh man, I just saw Jordan a couple weeks ago and
Hey,
chatted on
Troy.
camera with him. I'll think about a question as we go. Hi, everybody. I got 20 minutes. Thanks, Shawn. Appreciate it. Sorry, in and out. Today I had 2 meetings that started 45 minutes after the hour. What's with these 15-minute? You start at the top or the bottom of the hour. What's the starting of these 15-minute increments?
I am guilty of that.
Oh,
I'm going to shorter meetings.
I know, and I am too,
25. I'm
apparently.
doing
But
like 15-minute meetings now.
I am trying to, but it never works. It takes me 5 minutes to, as you can tell. I can't even get
Get it going, Troy.
There
Land
we
the
go.
plane.
Land the plane.
There he is. There he is. I can't even get the plane out of the taxiway. Here we go. Good to see my friend Jason Berkowitz yesterday in person, surprisingly and unexpectedly. Great to hang out with Jordan at RLC. Laura as well was there. Who else was there yesterday? Okay. Hi, Laura. I have a great picture with Laura I got to share. Troy Huber. I'm the CEO of Hot Palate America, the parent company of Pepper Lunch, co-CEO of Pepper Lunch globally. Now leading the global marketing committee as we've restructured a little bit. Exciting about that. Going to rebrand Pepper Lunch in 2025. I'm a podcast host of the Pineapple Perspective everywhere you listen or watch shows on YouTube and the such, where folks like these people in the room and others come on and we chat about hospitality and what that means in different verticals of the industry. What else, Shawn? What do I believe? I believe I need to stay off of a plane for at least 5 minutes. I'm exhausted of traveling, been jumping around a little too much, but I believe in humanity. I've had some really cool experiences lately of random conversations, random run-ins with people, people realizing that there's more to this than dollars, cents, and growth, that the people part of this really matters. And really rejuvenated at RLC. There was some really cool events there for that. There's some events coming up. Our time together at NRA is going to be unique and special. So I hope we're all planning to get together if you're coming to Chicago, etc. And then Jordan Boesch of 7Shifts. Well, I don't know, Jordan.
It's Bush, Troy. It's Bush.
Oh, I've always called you
Shawn,
Boesch.
we just go with it. We don't correct anyone when they butcher our last names. We
I'm
just
taking
go
the
with it.
I'm taking the responsibility.
Shawn
for the
is
industry.
the worst with names, so
Correct.
he's got a lot of dishing out to do because he's taken a lot of hits over the years.
It's Bush.
I still don't know how you say Matt's last name because Walchef here messes it up every time.
It's Walchef, but we'll keep going, Troy.
No, what about Wampler and Wampler?
Wampler.
I know it's Wampler.
It's Jordan Boesch.
Anyway, sorry, Jordan.
Get off the taxi runway with the plane.
I've only known Jordan for a few years, and the fact that I was never corrected is his fault. Okay.
He's too nice to correct.
Jordan, what do I want to talk about? You touched on the cool thing, which is what you're working on, what you're thinking about. I don't know. Sorry, I apologize. I don't know if this has been asked, but this is something I want to get out of you. Is what are the 1 or 2 top challenges that your clients, our friends in the industry, are facing in this labor management, labor scarcity, labor shift that you see as a trend or as a temporary, as solvable, is just talk to us about what collectively you guys see, because you just have access to so much intelligence and how we're running our businesses. What's working, what's not working, what needs to be fixed?
Yes, good question, Troy. I think when I think back to the report that we ran, it was our 2024, so I think it was December 2024. But maybe even been earlier, but hiring was among one of the top challenges for operators. And I just sort of assume that like this has largely been unchanged for me and in a lot of ways, from not just discussions, but even data that we've pulled. It just is a big challenge for the industry. But what was very interesting to me when we ran this other report was sort of a different just sort of a different challenge that folks were having. And it was more so related to food costs right now. And how that kind of funnels into labor management is that sort of the costs of things are going up, and what are ways that I can really do to optimize my labor, as a part of the solution to get there. And yeah, the cross training aspects that we talked about earlier, maybe before you joined here, was a big part of it. And so the focus has actually shifted into more of, I feel like, a retention zone than it did a hiring zone. And now it's not to say that hiring is not important and that people don't like have that as a challenge. It's just how people are thinking about it right now are just very different. I have, this person, I was this quote I heard, it was from Jim Taylor, who's from Benchmark 60, a restaurant consulting group, was sort of like, if I can have one person that does the three different roles and can sell, I would hire that person, 10 out of 10 times versus one person that can do one role and can kind of sell. So I think that the cross training element and the focus on retention is becoming a bigger thing, because it's way easier to make your existing folks happier and more engaged than it is to go out to the well and find a new person. It's risky. You don't know if they're going to mesh with the culture, if you're going to even find the right person. It takes a long time, and so I'm excited by that, because I think that that's a really great place for operators and managers to spend time, because that's going to have a ton of great knock-on benefits for your brand, for how you're spoken about in the industry. And that's sort of what I'm seeing, at least in the data and talking to operators, is becoming a bit more of a shift.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's great. Real quick, Shawn, before I let you take your show
Yep.
back, all of you, like Eric, Steven, Howard, surprisingly that it's your guys, Michael and Tom, if you look at, and Ufuk, by the way, I know what his real name is. If you look under your name there, there's nothing under your name. If you look at everybody else on the screen, there's our company name, our website, a favorite phrase. You can just hover over the area with your cursor under your name and type what you want there. So just add that on there, because this lives forever on the internet, and you want people to know who Steven Swiderski actually is. It's Scuba Steve from Barbecue Scuba Steve. So please, Steve, please go hover under your name and type barbecuescubasteve.com so everybody knows where to find you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Troy. And just a reminder to everybody, we have a Slack channel for the Rising Tide community. We have a LinkedIn group chat, Instagram group chat. If you want to be added to that, just send me a direct message, or you can email us at podcast@calibbq.media. Michael Ungaro, are you able to unmute? Who are you? And what are your questions for Jordan?
Yeah, on the phone, I don't know if you can do it on the phone. Steven's probably in the same spot. It'll save it though. When you do it on your laptop next time, it'll save it. It'll just auto do it every time. You just got to do it once.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Love it.
Mhm. Yeah, good question. I think like this is sort of business agnostic to me, this type of question, because like our business is, we were at 350 people. We're about like 270-ish now, just given pandemic stuff. But like we still have to go through the same scenarios of, do you promote from within and take a bet on someone and ramp them up, or do you bring in an outsider that is a little bit inherently more risky? Um, I think that for us, and I think for a lot of companies, like I tend to, depending on the role, I tend to want to take more bets on the people that are here because they are already assimilated into the culture. And I think that, giving them the training and the necessary tools to kind of learn and grow in that role is also like a really exciting story for the rest of your employees, right? If you can say like, John or Sue, they started as a server and they're the director of ops now. What an amazing story that's tangible that you can share with the rest of the team. Now, there's the other aspect of that is that person has to step up for that role. You have to, it's not just you pulling them up. I would say that you can show them, give them the reins, give them the right tools, but they have to meet you there too. They have to be able to grow. So how we've done it here is we have had sort of like a bit of a mixed bag where I would say probably like 60% of people are promoted from within, maybe 40% we bring external. So we have a bit of a mix, but for that new role, and look, there's ways for an external person to understand if they're going to be a cultural fit, which is maybe a different question and has different tactics to it. Because for us, we screen everyone for behaviors, and we have a line of questions and scenarios we put them through to ensure that they align with our values, which are behavior-based values. So, and I say that because like, and this is not knocking companies with a value like respect. Respect is a good thing, but like we wanted something a little bit more teeth that says like, you did not do this thing. And so for us, it's embrace new challenges, act like an owner. And if we're in a performance review and we're saying, hey, you didn't embrace new challenges, we can explain why, and that person sort of understands what that means. And we stayed away from sort of ambiguous like words that big corporations use, like respect and dignity, like again, which aren't bad, but like, what do you mean by that? Like, show me the behavior and let's use that as an example. And then let's kind of build it into how we recruit as some of the screening stuff that we do to bring people in. So that's answer your first part of the question. Yeah. So.
Really quickly, Michael, before you start talking, like a lot of the people aren't able to hear you. I know people in the room, some of them are able to hear.
Oh, really?
I can hear you and I see you, but it says that you're muted. And so I don't know what's happening on that side. And
I can hear
don't
him.
know.
I can hear
I
him.
could not hear or see you, Michael.
Weird.
Not hear nor see. But your look and sounded great.
Anyway.
I heard you, and Jordan did.
Right.
I heard you. All that matters, Michael, is if it made the recording or not.
Did it make the recording? Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Elizabeth, for letting us know. And with respect to everybody here and everyone's time, Jordan's time, let's get as many questions as we can in. Eric, part of our team, Cali Barbecue. What's your question for Jordan? Labor costs. You read the report. You read all the reports.
Yes, of course I do.
I know you do.
I do love those reports. Actually, they're great. Because a lot of companies put stuff out and it's not relevant or it doesn't make sense. But my question is, because when I know you talked earlier about like the cost of turnover with employees, I want to know how you guys calculated it. I know there's a bunch of different ways to do it. Some things that I like to look at that I think get lost in the mix are like, when they mess up with customers or they mess up food, stuff like that never gets thrown in due to lack of training or whatever it is. Screw ups that might be comps or might be food waste, stuff like that. Where they getting their feet wet for a month or so. So like, what numbers did you guys put into that to get that 1,000 or the 1,400?
Yeah. So at a high level, productivity was sort of loss of productivity, potentially equating to sales, if you're short staffed. Also mixing in the manager's wage and the time to actually find and fill the role that you lost for. And then things like their uniform, some of those are sort of like one-time costs as well, kind of get factored into it. Are there any things that Eric, like, are, outside of those things? I know you mentioned a few, but anything else you think, we could have factored in? I'm just trying to think on the spot here too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's so many of those things that you don't realize until they're happening. I guess when you're like down in the in the operations level of it. I guess you mentioned the management time. Sometimes how much time a manager will have to actually go out of what they're supposed to do and do the employee's job. So that's a good way to look at it too, because that's you're paying your manager the most, and they're doing maybe an hourly position's work. So I could definitely see that being factored into being a big cost that wouldn't normally be there. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Let's see. Jacqueline, welcome to the stage. Thank you for being here. Take 30 seconds. Who are you? What are you working on? And what's your question for Jordan?
Yeah, so my name is Jacqueline Covady, also known as Jackeen. I have a company called Original Approach Entertainment LLC. I produced a musical interactive e-cookbook with comedy stories and international cuisine. And I have a chef program, so they can be affiliates and earn money by selling my e-cookbook. Yeah, and I love what Jordan was saying about communication. I'm doing projects with other food companies. One of them serves over 600 meals in an hour. Really interesting company. I've been named musical director to produce a musical track, for them. But as well, I'll be cooking with executive chefs at their site. So they would love for you to come on site actually and watch, the show that we're going to be doing. But yeah, I've been on radio, television, podcasts, magazines, TV, for my ebook and also my music. Yeah, so I want to ask you in terms of communication, it's very interesting because I want to know how, like in terms of retaining and really looking for new talent and that sort of thing, you know, how do you incorporate entertainment and then maybe build out the social media channels and kind of see how you can brand your products and services so that maybe you can earn more money, attract more talent, and for the if people are leaving, then you have can have the money to hire more talent. So I want to know like maybe how you can add in that element of branding.
Yeah, I think that's a good prompt. I sort of feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's almost like the intersect of, the customers we serve that are sort of hiring, and the technology that, like 7 Shifts, that would sort of help them facilitate and allow for them to, promote themselves in a better manner. Did I understand
Yes.
that correctly? Yeah, I think, and I love Jason's perspective too on this, just because he's in the training world so deep. But I think that I think those are really important factors, and I think that it seems like a lot of brands want to have more of an external personality and show more about the culture through different mechanisms as it relates to hiring and bringing people in. And we've seen a lot of different brands get creative with TikTok and other social media platforms. But I do think, as it relates to hiring, and what that external brand looks like, I do think it's an important element. But yeah, curious if Jason has any thoughts on that as well.
Troy talks a bit, I appreciate it. And Troy talks a bit about this in the past of, highlight your employees, bring them into social media, bring them into your training. I always talk about for companies,
Yeah.
I'm like, literally pull out the phone, video somebody on the line, see what's going on. In every company I've been a part of, there are hilarious, especially in the restaurant game, there are hilarious people. I mean, we are a weird bunch. And like, it's absolutely amazing. So to find them, highlight them, and give them that platform to attract, like be the beacon and let that be the example and the representation to attract and then pull people in if that's what we're talking about, right? So Jacqueline is bringing that creative element of it, showcasing that, figuring out what the talents, highlighting, making sure you're staying within the guardrails, right? So it's not just self-grandizing, but it's bringing it back to the idea. anyway, you're not going to be everything to everybody. So figure out who represents what you are and shine that.
Exactly. And if it's fun, people want to stay. You know, people love fun. They love, working in an environment where they can have fun and at the same time, have a business expand and be lucrative.
It's great. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you for being here. Speaking of fun TikTok videos, Barbecue Scuba Steve, you want to ask Jordan a question?
From what I've heard already, all the major questions that I would have asked have already been covered. So just happy to be here and happy to see Jordan's face after all these months.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Tom Spry, mic is yours. We have 12 minutes. Let's get to everybody if possible. Thank you, Jordan, for being here. Tom, go ahead. Who are you and what's your question for Jordan?
Hi, I'm Tom Spry. I'm an executive recruiter in the restaurant hospitality space for almost 3 decades now. God, I'm getting old. Jordan, my question to you is, from an executive leadership in the enterprise business, what do you feel is the greatest heartburn they're looking to have resolved, especially for franchisors?
The greatest heartburn that the CEO would look to hire an executive for, or is that the question?
No. I'm asking in relationship to 7Shifts in terms of its value proposition. In the process of your conversations on the enterprise side, what have you found to be the recurring largest heartburn they're looking for you to resolve for them? And I'm specifically pointing to franchisors, not equity-owned operations.
Yeah, the biggest pain point they're looking at us right now for is, I would say honestly, it's been compliance. And that is sort of a growing challenge for restaurants, especially as you get to become a certain scale. Like running restaurants is hard enough for operators. And I think that some of the rules that are being rolled out are making it increasingly more challenging to stay in compliance with the ever changing set of rules. So, I think New York Fair Work Week, you think of a lot of different states that have sort of adopted different flavors of that. California is really difficult. So I think that when folks are coming to us in that more upmarket space, it's been largely around compliance.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Elizabeth Doss, mic's yours. Go for it.
Hi there. Elizabeth Doss here. I am a social media consultant as well as an animated GIF artist. I help brands and businesses have their own animated GIFs to use across social media. Giphy fuels the back end for Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of them when you're typing in GIF search. And my GIFs have been viewed almost 6 billion times now, and I help brands do the same. I'm working on animations today, motion graphics for a YouTube video, and I want to... So this has been a lovely distraction today. No, my question, I guess, because you were talking about the tip pooling and sharing and documenting all those things, as well as empowering employees, to kind of manage their own schedules to some degree, as well as tracking, all the wages and all of that. But I guess one thing that I was curious about is, because that's building that culture of trust. You're trusting, those people. And I was, when some of these restaurants are hiring and things, I'm just wondering, are they selling 7Shifts as a perk of being a part of the restaurant there? And even when people are transitioning between different restaurants, that when they find out that this is a part of it, I'm just curious if you've heard any feedback of because I know you guys help over 50,000 restaurants with this, is that they hear 7Shifts is on board, so then that actually makes them want to join on. I just didn't know if you had any stories about that type of retention. Anyway.
Yeah, so it's pretty anecdotal. I wish I had better data on this. I mean, I will share. I think it's about 10% of existing 7Shifts workers currently work at another 7Shifts restaurant. So there is a high overlap of these workers that are using the product at different establishments. Um, I have only heard, again, anecdotal stories of folks kind of saying something similar, which is, hey, like, I'm used to getting my pay through the 7Shifts app. It's how I get my tips. It's how I check my pay stubs. It's how I check my shifts. It's all in one. Why don't you guys use it here? And so that is the type of advocacy we want, because it's one thing to, on one hand, we build really simple tools for operators, but on the flip side, we also understand that if the employees don't adopt these tools, then it's useless. So we have to build great experiences for the employees as well. And the fact that 9 in 10 restaurant managers were at one point a restaurant employee, and so you think about these folks that have a good experience as an employee and they go on to be managers, and now they're making decisions about technology. The goal is that they're talking about 7Shifts. And so there is sort of a grassroots element to everything that we do, but it's all rooted in us actually building a simple product that solves problems for operators.
Awesome. Great question, Elizabeth. Naki, what's your question for Jordan? Thank you for being here.
Hi, great to be here. Hello, everyone. So I used 7Shifts and similar platforms in the past as a restaurant consultant. So one thing that I love about the 7Shifts and like Slink to a certain extent is how to manage labor cost in combination with the scheduling tool, right? Sales forecasts, budgeting, labor expense budgeting. It's to the least, basically, it gives a new perspective to the operators on the field. No matter how sophisticated conversations that we have, no matter how sophisticated SOPs that we implement, right? At the end of the day, it needs to go to the people who do this on the day in and day out. I really enjoy, and I think like with the new AI and stuff, like there is great room to improve efficiency over. As it pertains to compliance, my question to Jordan is: in the past, like we didn't implement 7Shifts for the tip distribution tool because of compliance. Like I asked this like time and time again for a like audit report, SAS 70 audit report. I think if you like, I managed a large hospitality firm. We were sued a bunch of times. We were 100% right the whole time. And from that experience, there can be like no room, and like there needs to be like evidence when it comes to like a that discovery stage. You need to be able to provide the calculations and all that. And this was like when I had this conversation maybe a year ago with the CEO of the company. They told me that you guys didn't have an SAS 70 report, which is this report is an audit firm coming and auditing the procedures of the company, so that we know that the math is always going to work right. Because if the math works wrong, the company will be on the line, both in terms of like to pay the employees who were underpaid, and you can't really, like in many jurisdictions, you can't take money back from the people whom you overpaid to give it to the people whom you underpaid. In Boston, for example, you can't do that. So my question to you is like, do you guys have any plans to officiate the tip distribution tool, open it up to audit, invite an audit firm and get an SAS 70, or I think the new name is SSAE 16 report?
Yeah, good question. And I'm not Naki, is that how you pronounce your name? Just want to make sure I get it right.
That's right.
So Naki, I think that as it relates to the certain type of report you're curious about, I don't know that off the top of my head in terms of the specification you mentioned at
Think
the end
about
there.
this. Payroll companies. Why do I trust ADP to do the taxes for me and then pay it? Because it's a huge liability, right? Because ADP goes and gets a SAS 70 report, invites an auditor. So the
Yeah.
auditor basically audits their processes, procedures, and certifies that the math on these like 30 criteria will always work. And the company has like systems, processes to do change management, so it doesn't really break down. That's why we trust ADP to do our payroll taxes.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I would probably have to chat with the team around where or if we're thinking about how like an audit process and how deep that goes. I know there's some like high level reporting within some of the tip distribution products. But certainly it's something that we've talked about internally is kind of unveiling more of the raw calculation formulas to the folks versus it sort of being automated so that they can do those checks. So probably not to the level of what you're asking for today, but something I'm definitely curious to ask the team about as well.
If you think about like tip management, usually happens like tips are pulled in fine dining to the most part. Everywhere else, people usually get their own tips. So in fine dining, a lot of money is made, which invites attorneys to come and sue. That's why like fine dining establishments would benefit from assurances that when they rely on 7Shifts to do the tip distribution, tip pool, and tip distribution, they would like the assurances because the consequences will be dire for them. Like 8 months of if there's a matter for 8 months, it will cost them literally like millions of dollars in even in a single location.
Yeah. So good to chat through. If maybe we'll follow up after. I can connect with you on LinkedIn or
Appreciate
grab
that.
your email. Mine's Jordan@7shifts.com, and maybe we can chat more about it.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Jordan. And just so anybody that's listening, anybody that's watching, where can they get the new 7Shifts labor report? And also, if you guys are watching or listening to this, please subscribe to the Food Runner, which is the new 7Shifts newsletter. The team has done. There's lots of newsletters out there. We're going to do a conversation in the Rising Tide community about loot newsletters and how to do them better. But one of the pillars that we share is that the Food Runner is doing it right. Absolutely incredible work, Jordan. Shout out to your entire team that's putting together that newsletter. But where do people get this free labor report and profitability report?
Yeah, you can do a few things. You can either you can Google the 7Shifts restaurant labor playbook, or you can go to 7shifts.com under resources. There's an area called restaurant data, and you should be able to find it in there.
Amazing. Jordan, thank you so much for your time. Shout out this Friday, we're doing a show on community service. So please join us on Friday to talk about community service. Jordan Boesch, CEO, co-founder of 7Shifts. Jordan, we're so grateful for all the time, all the things you do for the industry. Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, right?
You got it, Shawn.
HQ, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. 7Shifts. We love it. We appreciate it. Jason, Elizabeth, Laura, Eric, Naki, Stephen, Howard, Jacqueline, thank you guys all for being here. Mike, Biseglia, Stover, thank you guys for producing the show. And thank you to the 7Shifts team for helping get Jordan on the show today. Thank you all. We appreciate it. And we will stop recording and make sure everybody uploads. Thank you.